If you feel like you're doing everything right, but you still are falling behind, it's not just you. The middle class today in America is shrinking rapidly. And once you see why, it'll explain everything.
$1,000 for a Gen Z, or let's say they have a bachelor's degree and they're 25 years old. First of all, $74,000 is much higher than the average income. Most Gen Zers are probably making anywhere from 40 to 50, maybe 60, but let's use 74. The take home after taxes, 401k, and health insurance is $4,300. The average college monthly payment on a loan is about $500. You're down to $3,800. Let's say this person is financially responsible, decides to split a 2-bedroom apartment in a medium-sized city like Orlando so that their payment is $1,200 a piece, $200 for utilities, so $1,400. Now, unless they're going to have Lucky Charms and peanut butter and jelly, their groceries are going to cost about $600 if they're trying to get chicken, beef, and some healthy stuff. You have a $400 car payment, $200 in insurance, $150 for gas, $100 for a cell phone, leaves you with $950. This is no savings, investment, no emergency fund. Let's give them at least $300 to go on a couple dates or to hang out with their friends for the month so they can enjoy life a little bit. They're left with only $650. A bachelor's degree, $74K salary. You are splitting a 2-bedroom apartment with a friend and only have $650 left a month. It would take you years to save up the $30,000 that you would need for a down payment on a house with the closing costs. But even if you could get that down payment saved, you would still need to make $120,000 a year to be considered for a $400,000 loan. The middle class, the goalpost has been moved from $70K to $120,000 in just the past 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I was reading an article earlier and it said the middle class income in order to be considered middle class is really closer to $150,000. Guess what? 5 years ago, that was more like $75,000, $80,000. Example really highlights if you make all the right financial choices, you can still feel like you have nothing left after you pay your bills. You have, invested a little bit into your 401k, you bought your health insurance, you pay your payments, you fill up your car with gasoline, you buy food because you're trying to be healthy, you buy a little bit nicer, more premium food, and you're going to spend extra dollars at the grocery store to do that. After all that, and you're sharing an apartment with a roommate, you only have a few $100s left over every month. That's so defeating. 100,000 is the new 45,000. Ain't that the truth? My husband and I both make about 100,000 together. Sure doesn't feel like we're middle class at all. You are middle class, but $100,000 household income today really feels like lower middle class. You may have heard middle class can really be divided into 3 categories because it's such a huge bracket of the population. There's lower middle, middle, and upper middle. So $100,000 household income really puts you in the lower middle of middle class, which really probably falls between like 50,000 and like 125,000, maybe up to 150,000 even. Salary hasn't kept up with the cost of living. No, it has not. 150 for gas, haha, more like 500 for me. That's actually sounds like quite a lot considering gasoline prices are pretty cheap right now. You must be driving quite a lot to spend $500 a month. 2 bachelor's degrees making less than 40,000. We were sold a lie. Yeah, for all those folks, really frustrated with their student loan debt or just the amount of money they spent to get their degrees, go ahead and check out my other video as soon as you wrap up this one, of course, called Was College a Mistake? Here's Why Millions Regret It. And I think hopefully you'll get some good advice from that video. Who voted for this? Yeah, I see so many political comments a lot of times in these threads, and I find that frustrating because not all this is political, especially presidential. A lot of people attribute a lot of the economic strife to the president, and really, if you really think long and hard about it, probably what caused the highest amount of inflation was the economic bailout plan that Congress approved. So really, it's your Congress and your Senate. A little bit with the president, especially when they were pushing a lot of the stimulus checks. It's lower than the Great Depression, average salary adjusted for inflation. That's wild. I'd like to see the stats on that. 74,000 is like the rich. 74,000 is like the rich poor people. Yeah, because again, lower middle class, you are going to feel like you are for sure paycheck to paycheck, and you can't afford anything at that income. Yeah, that's really a tough place to be. Y'all can do this to save money. You're spending too much. Y'all do realize you shouldn't have to micromanage everything to make your middle class income livable, right? That's now what the middle class is. Yeah, I mean, when all else fails, you really need to take a step back, and your income is your income. So you can only really think about two things. One, how can I increase my income? And two, how can I decrease my expenses? And you really want to attack both of those things at the same time. So try to hustle where you can, maybe work some extra hours at your main job. If you can get some overtime, that'd be phenomenal. Or pick up a part-time hustle, start a business, do anything you can to make a few hundred up to maybe a couple thousand extra per month. That'll go such a long way in giving you wiggle room in your budget. The other thing is, you can probably cut back on some things that you may just be overlooking, like subscriptions. You can, prioritize your food budget. It's going to cost you at least 3 times the price to eat out versus cooking at home. So if you're really trying to save for like a vacation, or if you're trying to invest more in your 401k for retirement, or if you just want to save a little bit of emergency savings, look to cut back on some of the more frivolous spending that you do eating out, because you can probably do it for a fraction of the cost at home and then save the difference. Bro, middle class is now like 150 to 175,000. Yeah, that's like true. That's true middle class household income. So that's 2 people making like 75 a piece, somebody making 100, somebody making 50, or just a single worker in the family earning a very nice wage. They are going to be middle class and be able to afford to take a lot of the inflated prices without it really, not that it's not affecting them, because it really is, but they're going to be able to grab the hamburger meat and still buy it when it's showing $11 versus, the price that they're used to a year ago being, $5 or $6. I would kill to have 650 left over every month. Yeah, I mean, different points in your life, $650 is gonna mean a lot of different things to you. Maybe right now, if you're younger, or if you are living paycheck to paycheck, 650 is the difference between making all your bills and paying them on time versus having a little room, stocking away a couple hundred a month in an emergency fund, going out on a weekend and being able to spend or go shopping once in a month, or going on an extra date and not having to worry about, how you're going to split the tab, those kind of things. So, it's tough out there right now. Today, I learned I'm lower class, laughing, crying. Yeah, it's funny how a lot of the shifting in the socioeconomical statuses really happened so quickly. It's almost like it happened overnight, and people didn't even realize it was happening, because 2 things. One, prices kept going up, and up, and we were all just shook by really the prices we were seeing. There was a brief period of time where workers were able to really leverage that against their employers, and people were getting raises and bonuses. And think back to like 2021, and they were, I remember the Wall Street Journal and Business Insider, and everybody was talking about how, you can hop to a new job and make an extra 20%. Like, this was like the golden age, the employee being able to leverage that against their employer. That only lasted like less than a year. And now here we are, where we have sky high, well, not sky high, but we have unemployment is rising. We have job openings that are shrinking. People are not getting raises. People are working hard and feeling like their money is just not going as far as it used to. What Gen Z is making $74,000 right out of college? Plenty, if they have certain degrees and qualifications. Not every college graduate is going to make $75,000, but sure, a lot are. Okay, I'm going to sound like a boomer here, but going into, sorry, I'm going to sound like a boomer here, but going into a trade like welding or industrial/residential electrical will bump your salary into six figures and no college loans are going to gut you. I've been hearing more and more folks talk about going into the trades. And if I had a child that was soon to be graduating high school and they were thinking about what they're going to be doing, what they're going to be doing after school, whether college, enter the workforce, I would be really, really pushing how can you get a skill as soon as you can that you can leverage to start making some serious money quickly. And the trades is a great way to do that. They have apprenticeships, quick training. A lot of them have jobs available that you can just go right into. Like they're literally begging people to come work in the trades. And, a year or so into it, you can be making six figures with no debt and the ability to get overtime. And that sounds incredible for so many.
I just watched what has to be one of the most horrifying videos I have ever seen on this app regarding our country's financial future. It was posted by a woman named Tiffany. I will link it. She's talking about how private equity firms have been buying up all the single family homes. So up until very recently, we didn't actually have the numbers to say just how many homes they've been buying up. And most politicians across the fucking board, Democrat, Republican, whatever, have been saying, well, they're really only buying like 18% of single family homes. And then economists chimed in and said that if private equity firms are buying up anywhere from 18 to 20 to 23% of single family homes in this country, that by 2030, they would own 60% of all of the homes in America. Wow. Well, we just got the final numbers. In 2023, private equity firms purchased 44% of all of the single family homes in America, which means death for our middle class. Our generation will not be homeowners. They will have us permanently renting from like 2 or 3 companies. Now, America has a lot of problems, but this should be a unifying problem that every single person who is not part of one of those private equity firms cares about, including current homeowners. They bought 44% of all of the single family homes in America last year. And they are set up to purchase an even higher percentage of them this year. Unless we have major reform, almost all of the single family homes in this country will be owned by these private equity firms in a very, very short amount of time.
Wow, that is so heavy. It's so exhausting. We're no longer working to enjoy. We're working just to stay alive. Yeah, I know it can feel like that sometimes. And don't give up. You got this. You can turn things around. Life will get better. Don't lose hope. It's exhausting. Basic needs should not bankrupt people. I am so over this economy. Yeah, again, it's like we're living in a perfect storm. We live in a time where prices are elevated so high that if the freaking incomes would just keep up with the prices of everything, then it wouldn't be a problem. Everybody would not care that hamburger meat cost $11 to buy at the grocery store and it costs, $50 to fill up your gas tank, or it costs, $100 to go to the movies, or, it costs, whatever. Like, people wouldn't care if they were making more money. We could spend more and businesses would still make more. But it's this crazy dichotomy of an economy that we live in where prices went up, 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 and up, and incomes didn't do a darn thing. And so it's creating a lot of havoc for people. Our country helps everyone but its citizens. Yeah, I mean, I know our government spends the most bizarre money on things that if we only knew more of the details, I'm sure we would be totally pissed off. I remember reading one time there, and this was, I think, in the like, I don't know all the details, so just go with me here, but the California state government spent millions of dollars to research some wild, exotic, nearly extinct frog. And, I just don't get it. Like the sheer amount of money that government spends on the most bizarre things where we can't afford to literally buy meat and quality vegetables and fruit and get new clothes twice a year. It's ridiculous that our government can be so wasteful and that its citizens have to live in extreme frugality. It's bizarre and wild. Our future is going to have generations of families living together because no one can afford to live on their own. And this is so frustrating. That actually doesn't sound all bad. I know there's a lot of cultures in the world who do that more organically, especially than the United States. The United States is very independent and a very individualistic society. It doesn't sound all bad to me to have my kids in the house longer until they're more able to stand on their own 2 feet, until they're, if they wanted to stay and they were working and productive, sure, they could pay a little rent if they could. But I know like other cultures that like their children stay at home, especially the girls stay at home until they get ready to marry. I think that's kind of very interesting. I don't know how I would feel if all of America was doing it, but I am interested in how that works for them, and if it makes them closer, if it gives them more, less stress on their budget, especially for their young people to be able to start working and saving and not having to stress thousands of dollars a month on rent. This is so depressing just thinking about it for my children. I know. The more I think about how difficult it's going to be for the children of today's parents to buy houses, I get sad about it because I just realize that many of them will never be able to afford houses. And maybe that's not such a terrible thing. Again, like culturally, we love being homeowners in the United States of America, but there's a lot of countries where it's just much more common to be a renter. And maybe there's not all bad to that. This is so true. There are 12 homes on my street just purchased by these firms. I know. Some of them are quite aggressive too. Like they will send you letters. They will basically spam your mailbox. They want to buy your home, but they also want a good deal, and they'll take advantage of people. I know some people say they get offers over, like over what they think it's worth, but I think one of their main tactics is to reach out to people that would be potentially sellers, but that they haven't really engaged in the selling process yet. So they haven't really determined what the fair market value of their home is. So that these private equity firms slash, professional house flipping companies can come in and underbid your house because you haven't engaged in a realtor, you haven't engaged in getting an appraisal, you just don't know. So, and if you've been in the house for many years, your values appreciate so much that you feel like you're getting a stellar deal when maybe they're actually underbidding you by 20%. Wouldn't that be wild? Scary. I know. My offer for my house got denied at first because they almost went with a corporation, but then they went with us instead because we wrote a letter. I will definitely be paying it forward when we sell. That is great advice. Every time we've bought a home and we felt like it was at all competitive, we've always written a personal letter to the seller. tell them about our family. We tell them about what we love about the house, what our plans are for the house. It doesn't always work, but I think it goes a long way.
If you are considered middle class, can you chime in and let me know what you have in your savings account? Because I swear, every paycheck I am putting money into my savings, but needing to transfer it back within a few days. My registration's due. My husband's registration's due. He needed 2 new tires, even though he had a warranty. That was $300. My oldest needs braces. He needs a palate expander. That's $120 a month. Not to mention groceries are $200 more a week. Forget about feeding your family like great ingredients, because who has $500 a week to spend on perfect ingredients to feed your family? My husband makes enough money to where we should live comfortably. I mean, is it just the economy? What's going on? Is that why I don't have savings? I quit my job because we couldn't afford daycare. I was paying the daycare more than I was making at my. So at some point, something has to give. What is going on? How do I save money? Are you guys saving money? What's going on?
We make the most money we have ever made and have zero savings. We live paycheck to paycheck, and every month I just don't know how we get by. That's scary. It is so scary to feel like you are hitting a wall every month. The amount of money coming in just does not come up nearly enough to the amount of money that you need to go out. And you have to force change in that case. You have to get radical about your budgeting. I know that sounds extremely fatiguing and not fun and boring and meticulous, but sometimes when you're hitting this wall, you have to just punch through it. And how are you going to do that? Go to a cash budget, cut up your credit cards, say we're not going out to a restaurant ever. Say we're going to make savings automatic. We are going to sell a car. We'll sell a car if we have to. You got a $1,000 car payment on a 2-year-old car, sell it. Get a beater. Save up $3,000, buy a 20-year-old Honda Civic. I know, that would really suck. But that's the punch through the wall that you might need in order to get to the other side where you're not feeling like you have no hope and where you're living paycheck to paycheck. Couple of political comments here. It's the economy. Let's pray for change in November. This comment was more than a year old. November came and went. Not sure we saw the change they were hoping for. Maybe they were hoping for a different change. I'm not sure. I think that's just kind of the point is you cannot put your faith in others, and you cannot put your faith, especially in politicians, to come and rescue you. No one is going to make your bills more affordable, put money in your savings account. No one's going to take away your car keys and stop you from going to a restaurant when you only have, $100 left to spend that month. Don't go spend it in a restaurant. Y'all got savings accounts? I think the middle class is 300,000 to 400,000 now. No, I don't think so. That's a lot of money, and there are millions of people that live squarely in the middle class and don't stress about their finances, making far less than that. So I think for Susie and people like Susie that think like that, I challenge you to get out of your own way, throw out your biases, personally examine where you're spending your money, and maybe even look inward, because that's a ridiculous statement. $400,000 a year is nowhere near middle class. At least not for most people. Middle class is gone. It's just lower and high class. Yeah, that's a really defeating message, and I think it rings true in some regards. The middle of the middle class feels like it's completely going away. And we have now a bigger lower middle class than we've ever had before. We also have a fairly robust upper middle class that just keep trucking along, spending, going on vacations, buying cars, and pretty much acting like nothing's that different. But they are not as vocal as the folks that are in the lower middle class that are feeling squeezed, and where they've always been middle class. They grew up middle class. They've been middle class their whole adult lives, and now they're feeling like they're poorer than ever. That's that lower middle class where it's like a lifestyle adjustment is being thrusted upon them, and they have not reacted in a way that shows that they've even identified that they are in a different socioeconomic status than they were before 10 years ago, 5 years ago. They certainly don't identify it, and they definitely haven't accepted it. Okay, I read this and I'm like, okay, it's not just me. But then I see all my friends on Facebook going to Disney, kids playing 15 sports, road trips, huge birthdays, and all brand name clothing. How? Is it credit? Is it all credit? Yeah. I think not only is like this keeping up with the Joneses thing really dangerous, but also with social media and Facebook, and where you're basically seeing a highlight reel for all of your closest friends and family, it is extremely damaging to look at that and be like, so-and-so, Susie, is going to Disney again. I thought they just went last year. And look at Susie's kids. They're all in, designer clothing. And didn't Susie just get a new Tahoe a couple months ago? The thief of joy is comparison, is a wise statement. And I think we could do more to take that to heart. And really, it doesn't matter what Susie's doing, how Susie's doing it. What matters is you, how you choose to live, how you choose to react to your situation. And again, don't give up, push forward. If you want to change your circumstances, live like no one else and freaking change them. I'm not going to let anyone tell me that I can't change something that I want to change. No one's going to tell me that I'm going to make the same amount of money that I make today for the rest of my life. If I want to double my income over the next 10 years, by golly, I'm going to make a plan. I'm going to think about what I need to do. Do I need education? What kind of education? Is that something that I think is going to be a viable option in 10 years? Like you have to now consider like AI and robotics, and, you have to put planning into your decisions and, make a game plan. I'm middle class and have $108,000 in savings, all about priorities, and I don't make a lot. Thank you, Francisco, for lifting up the room a bit. I appreciate that. Self-identified middle class, has a bundle in his savings, realizes that he doesn't make the most amount of money in the world, but he still has priorities and some accountability. It's not like, the government is completely blameless. It's not like employers are going to be completely off the hook and that we just love them and adore them for giving us their peanuts that they choose to give us every year. But there is personal accountability in our personal finances after all. This one, I chuckled at this one pretty good. We spend $200 a month on Ozempic, and now we just don't eat out a lot. That's, that is one way to do it. That's so funny.
This country is literally destroying the middle class. Like, do we even have a middle class anymore? Or is it just like the haves and the have-nots? Because the haves are really, they're having, and the have-nots are really struggling. Mm-hmm. And I'm getting so stinking frustrated because I don't know how much more I can help my adult kids. Mm-hmm. And don't come at me and saying, oh, well, they stop eating avocado and toast in Starbucks. They don't work hard enough. Get fucked, first of all, because I can tell you that my oldest daughter was working 6 days a week, 12-hour days while pregnant, to try to do what's best for her family. They lived in a 2-bedroom trailer that they were renting that was literally falling apart at the seams. And so she wanted something better for her family because she was pregnant with her second child. So she's busting her butt, working her ass off. Now, of course, her husband couldn't work because they couldn't afford daycare. That's a whole nother story. So they decided that he'd be the one to stay at home because she had the better job. So here she is working 6 days a week, 12-hour days while pregnant to try to save as much as they possibly can to get this home. So they finally purchased this home. And just for reference, their home was $220,000. That looks one of the cheapest ones they can find to fit their needs. And they pay $1,800 a month. Now, some of you are going to come at me and be like, $1,800, that's a steal, right? We're in Alabama. Yes, that's a steal in New York. So, like, stick with the story here. What I was trying to say is that $1,800 a month. My mortgage, I got a house for $220,000 as well back in 2014 before the housing market went butt up. My mortgage is only $1,100 a month because my interest rate was so much better. So here she is already paying $600 more a month for the same mortgage. So I was like, God. But here she is. She's working it. She's busting it. She gets in this house. She's so excited. I'm excited for her. She's still working her butt off 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. And then she goes and delivers a full human and only takes 2 days off from work after delivering her baby because she can't afford not to.
What?
And she's still pushing through. She's like, all right, I got this. I'll do what I got to do. So I went to her house. I was helping with the grandbabies. I love my grandbabies to death, and I help wherever I can. But my husband and I are both retired. We both served 22 years in the Air Force. And then I worked six years corporate, and I saved all my money in that 6 years to get us out of debt so that we could retire.
If grandma's retired, why can't the husband go get a job? Why you love your kids to death, but you won't watch your grandbabies a couple of days a week so he can pick up a job? This is a major issue. That is a first-time generational issue, I'm going to have to admit. Every generation previous to this lady's generation, the boomers, has absolutely stepped in this case and provided childcare support for her children's children so that those parents could go work if they needed to work. Like, you love your kids that much and you're retired and you wish that their lives were a little better, and you're going to let your daughter go back to work 2 days after she gives birth, but you can't watch your grandkids for 3 days a week for 6 hours a day so he can go get a part-time job, make a few $100 a month. Like, for real. I 1,000,000,000% do not understand what her issue is that she cannot do that.
Retirement is just enough for us. Like, we do not make Kardashian money. Our retirement basically lets my husband and I live. And now it's like, here she did try everything she could to get into this house. And then she gets a notification from the mortgage lender that says, hey, by the way, for year 2024, the housing insurance has gone up. The property insurance has gone up. Your PMI has gone up. So come next month, we're going to ask you to pay $2,300 a month instead of $1,800, an extra $500 a month. I've lived in my house since 2014, and yes, I understand property taxes go up, they reassess. The most I've ever paid more is like maybe $20, $40 more on my mortgage. Not, bam, $500. They were already struggling to pay the $1,800. Her company,
Sounds like they shouldn't have bought the house.
after she gets this notification, tells her that they have to lay her off because they just can't afford to keep all these employees on. Right before Christmas. Right before Christmas, they lay her off. So we as a family get together, we help out. I started working more in my shirt shack. You know, I have an Etsy shop and I work in my shirt shack. And I helped her pay her mortgage that month that she got laid off. And her and her husband were both now looking for a job. So then her husband finds the job this time. And he's working 6 days a week. Full time. Still are having a hard time now that they're saying that it's $2,300 a month instead of the $1,800 that they got in for it. And they can't afford daycare for both of them to go to work. They've tried to do the all work night shift, all work day shift. Y'all, it's not that she's not trying.
My wife and I did that with our 2 kids, alternated shifts for like 5 years. So nobody's going to tell me that this couple couldn't have done that too.
Not at all. And I'm so frustrated for it because this is her first house. She busted her ass to get this house, and now it's a possibility it's going to be taken away. It'll be foreclosed on because they honestly just can't afford it. And she's like, all right, Mom, I got this. I'll file my taxes. And I'll get some money back, and I'll put that aside, maybe get ahead a little bit. First year ever. How the hell she got 2 babies, just had one this year. And not only do they not get anything back this year, they've always got something back. They did not get anything back this year, but she owes $3,000. And then I turn on the news every day, and I see that our government is just printing money, just printing it out to help other people that just crossed over the border illegally. Now, don't get it twisted. I am all for legal migration here. If you're going to migrate to the United States and you're going to get a job and pay taxes just like everybody else, I have no problem with that. But how the hell is our government printing money, because that's what I feel like they're doing, just printing money or stealing it from us through taxes and everything else, raising everything in the world, and paying everything for people to just cross over the border, and they get more than what people that have lived here all their life has. Like, for the first time in my life, I was always a law-abiding citizen. Like I said, I served this country. I was proud of this country, and now I'm embarrassed because this country just doesn't give a shit about the people that are struggling. And I told her, I said, you know what, you'd probably be better off just getting rid of all your identity, like getting rid of all your documents, driving to Mexico, and then crossing the border, and you'd probably get more benefits and have more money to help take care of your family. That is freaking sad.
That's strange advice.
And when are we going to do so? Why are we even fucking paying taxes? Like, we already pay like a lot of taxes from our paychecks, and then we're taxed from whatever we got left over to buy anything. We are taxed out the wazoo. Property tax, everything is taxed. But we don't get to determine where this tax money is going, so we're hemorrhaging taxes while you're giving those taxes to people who never worked for them. And I'm supposed to tell my daughter to just buck it up, keep trying hard. And then I had to help my son, who's a college student, full-time job, help him buy groceries this month because he couldn't afford it either. And it's not for lack of trying. Yo.
Is it that unusual to help your college son buy some groceries? This lady is I know she's incredibly frustrated, but she's a little bit annoying me because she's very whiny, and she is complaining about helping her children and refusing to help her daughter in ways that would be most beneficial, and giving her advice like, you should throw away your identity, go to Mexico, and move back into the United States as an illegal immigrant. Like, maybe she's kidding on that, but come on, can you not actually give her any good advice, maybe, for once? And giving your son a couple $100s in a month for groceries doesn't seem like that big of a stretch when he's in college. Like, did you not encourage him to go to college? Is he not living at home? Maybe he should be living at home while he's in college. Like, did you not give him any actual good advice that would help him become a thriving adult?
We, the people, outnumber the haves. For the first time, I'd actually say, fuck it, don't pay your taxes. And I am normally a very law-abiding citizen, but I'm like, no, just don't. Because you and your babies come first, putting clothes on their back comes first, then giving it to a government that's just going to give it away to somebody who didn't work for it. Damn.
Well, that was an interesting video today, guys. I hope you really enjoyed it. Thanks for sticking around through the video. If you did enjoy it, go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment, and I would love to have some conversations with y'all in the comment section below. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next video.